Many people believe that being a perfectionist is a good thing. After all, perfectionists hold themselves to high standards, push for excellence, and refuse to settle for mediocrity. However, in reality, perfectionism often does more harm than good. Instead of helping you achieve success, it can lead to procrastination, fear of failure, wasted time, and a lack of real progress. The most successful people in the world are not necessarily those who aim for perfection, but those who take action, learn from mistakes, and continuously improve. If you are too focused on making everything flawless, you might be unknowingly holding yourself back. Let's explore how perfectionism prevents success and what you can do to overcome it. 1. Perfectionism leads to procrastination. The perfectionist's dilemma: why striving for perfection can hold you back. Perfectionism is often seen as a positive trait associated with high standards and an unwavering commitment to excellence. However, for many people, perfectionism can become a double-edged sword, leading not to success, but to frustration, procrastination, and even failure to complete tasks. One of the biggest struggles perfectionists face is the inability to start or finish projects because they feel their work is never good enough. They become trapped in an endless cycle of refining, editing, and tweaking minor details, believing that if they just work a little longer, their work will finally reach a flawless state. This mindset, however, often leads to excessive delays, missed opportunities, and an overwhelming sense of dissatisfaction. The paralysis of perfectionism. Imagine an aspiring writer who dreams of publishing a novel. Instead of progressing steadily, they spend years rewriting the first few chapters, convinced that each sentence could be improved. No matter how much effort they put in, they always find something to fix, whether it's adjusting word choice, restructuring paragraphs, or reworking dialogue. Their manuscript never sees the light of day because they never feel it's ready. On the other hand, a writer with a more balanced approach to their craft accepts that their work may not be perfect, but understands the value of progress. They complete their novel, publish it, receive feedback from readers, and use that experience to improve their future work. Over time, this writer grows and refines their skills naturally, not by chasing perfection, but by taking action. This same pattern can be seen in various fields. In business, an entrepreneur may hesitate to launch a new product because they keep revising every detail, waiting for the perfect moment. Meanwhile, another entrepreneur takes a more iterative approach, launching a minimum viable product, gathering customer feedback, and making improvements along the way. By the time the perfectionist is ready to launch, their competitor has already built a loyal customer base and refined their product through real-world experience. The hidden cost of perfectionism. The problem with perfectionism is that it creates unrealistic standards, making it nearly impossible to feel satisfied with one's work. This often leads to procrastination. The fear of producing something imperfect makes perfectionists delay or avoid starting tasks altogether. They tell themselves they'll begin when they're ready, but that moment rarely comes. Missed opportunities. While a perfectionist hesitates, others take risks, seize opportunities, and gain experience. Many successful people are not the most skilled, but the ones who take consistent action. Burnout and frustration, constantly striving for unattainable perfection, is mentally and emotionally exhausting. Instead of feeling accomplished, perfectionists often feel discouraged and overwhelmed. Done is better than perfect. The key to overcoming perfectionism is shifting the mindset from "it must be perfect" to "it must be done." Progress is more valuable than perfection because real improvement comes from experience, learning, and iteration, not from endless planning and self-criticism. Instead of waiting for the perfect moment, start now. Instead of overanalyzing every detail, focus on completing tasks and refining them over time. Understand that perfection is an illusion. What matters most is taking action, learning from mistakes, and continuing to grow. In the end, those who dare to create, publish, and share their work, imperfect as it may be, are the ones who move forward. Meanwhile, those who remain stuck in the pursuit of perfection often find themselves left behind. 2. Fear of failure blocks growth. The perfectionist's greatest fear. Why fear of mistakes holds you back. Perfectionists often struggle with an overwhelming fear of making mistakes. They want every project, every decision, and every action to go exactly as planned. Because of this, they avoid situations where failure is a possibility. While this mindset may seem like a way to ensure success, in reality, it does the opposite. It prevents growth, stifles creativity, and keeps them from seizing valuable opportunities. The irony is that success is rarely the result of getting everything right the first time. More often than not, it is the result of trial, error, and persistence. The most accomplished individuals in history didn't achieve greatness by avoiding failure. They embraced it, learned from it, and used it as a stepping stone toward success. The perfectionist's fear of failure. Imagine a talented musician who dreams of becoming a world-renowned performer. However, because they fear making mistakes on stage, they avoid performing in front of an audience. They spend years practicing in private, waiting for the day when they feel ready. But that day never comes because no amount of practice can fully prepare them for the real experience of being on stage. In contrast, another musician who may not be as technically skilled performs regularly, learning from each performance and gradually improving. Over time, this musician gains confidence, builds a fan base, and achieves their dreams, while the perfectionist remains stuck in self-doubt. This pattern repeats in every field. Entrepreneurs hesitate to launch their businesses, waiting for the perfect moment. Writers never submit their manuscripts because they fear rejection. Students avoid answering questions in class because they don't want to be wrong. In every case, the fear of failure leads to inaction, and inaction leads to stagnation. Failure is not the opposite of success, it's part of it. Many perfectionists believe that failure and success are opposites, but this couldn't be further from the truth. Failure is not something to be feared. It is a necessary and inevitable step on the path to success. The most successful people in the world didn't avoid failure. They encountered it repeatedly and used it as a tool for growth. Consider these examples. Thomas Edison tested thousands of different materials before he finally invented a working light bulb. When asked about his many failed attempts, he famously said, "I have not failed. I've just found 10,000 ways that won't work." His willingness to fail was what ultimately led to his breakthrough. Steve Jobs was fired from Apple, the very company he co-founded. Instead of giving up, he used this failure as a learning experience, later returning to Apple and transforming it into one of the most successful companies in history. J.K. Rowling faced multiple rejections from publishers before a single one decided to take a chance on Harry Potter. If she had given up after the first rejection, the world would never have known the magic of Hogwarts. These individuals didn't let failure define them. They used it as fuel to keep going. They understood that failure isn't a sign of incompetence, but rather a sign of progress. Why perfectionism holds you back. A perfectionist, on the other hand, often refuses to try unless they can be certain of success. They hesitate to take risks because they don't want to experience the discomfort of failure. But in doing so, they miss out on valuable opportunities for learning and growth. Here's what perfectionism can cost you. Missed opportunities. By waiting for perfect conditions, perfectionists often miss chances to learn, grow, and succeed. Meanwhile, others who are willing to take risks move ahead. Lack of growth. True improvement comes from experience, and experience comes from taking action. Without action, there is no growth. Paralysis by overthinking. Perfectionists often overanalyze every decision, leading to procrastination. Instead of making progress, they remain stuck in their own minds, worrying about what could go wrong. Fear of criticism. Perfectionists often avoid sharing their work because they fear judgment. But constructive feedback is one of the most powerful tools for improvement. Without it, they miss the chance to refine their skills. The mindset shift. Progress over perfection. To break free from the trap of perfectionism, you must shift your mindset from "I must get everything right" to "I must keep moving forward." Instead of seeing mistakes as failures, view them as lessons. Instead of fearing imperfection, embrace the idea that growth comes through action, not endless planning. Here are a few ways to start overcoming perfectionism. Take small risks. Instead of aiming for perfection, focus on progress. Try something new, even if it feels uncomfortable. Accept imperfection. Understand that no one gets everything right the first time. Mistakes are part of learning. Learn from failure. Instead of dwelling on what went wrong, analyze it objectively and use it to improve next time. Celebrate progress. Acknowledge small wins instead of only focusing on what still needs improvement. Success belongs to those who are willing to fail, learn, and improve. The perfect moment will never come, and perfection itself is an illusion. What truly matters is taking action, embracing the journey, and continuously growing. Those who dare to try, even if they stumble along the way, are the ones who ultimately achieve their goals. 3. Perfectionism wastes time and energy. The productivity trap. Why perfectionism can make you less efficient striving for excellence is a great mindset when applied correctly. Having high standards and putting in effort to produce quality work is commendable. However, there's a fine line between aiming for excellence and getting lost in perfectionism. While the former leads to progress and achievement, the latter often results in inefficiency, frustration, and missed opportunities. Perfectionists tend to spend excessive amounts of time refining details that may not even matter in the grand scheme of things. They focus on minutiae, making endless revisions, and second-guessing their work to the point that progress slows to a halt. What they may not realize is that this obsession with perfection is counterproductive. In many cases, focusing on speed, adaptability, and iteration is far more valuable than aiming for flawless execution. The Perfectionist vs. the Action Taker. To illustrate this point, let's compare two graphic designers working on a logo for a client. Designer A, they are deeply invested in making sure the design is flawless. They spend weeks testing different color palettes, adjusting font sizes by a fraction of a millimeter, and tweaking tiny elements that most people won't even notice. Even when the design looks great, they feel like there's always something that could be better. As a result, they take far longer than necessary to deliver their work, potentially missing deadlines or frustrating the client with delays. Designer B, they focus on creating a strong, high-quality design within the given time frame. Instead of endlessly fine-tuning minor details, they submit their initial draft on time, gather client feedback, and make necessary improvements. Once the project is approved, they move on to the next task, completing more projects and gaining more experience. Now, who is more successful in the long run? Designer B. While Designer A is stuck in a perfectionist cycle, Designer B is learning, growing, and delivering results consistently. In real-world business settings, speed, efficiency, and adaptability often matter more than perfection. Clients, employers, and audiences appreciate work that is done well and on time rather than something that is excessively polished but constantly delayed. Why perfectionism leads to inefficiency. Perfectionists often believe that putting in extra time and effort to perfect every little detail will lead to better results. However, this is not always the case. In fact, perfectionism can lead to several counterproductive behaviors. Diminishing returns. There's a point where extra effort stops being valuable. Spending 3 days refining a presentation might improve it slightly, but spending 3 weeks obsessing over minor details won't necessarily make it significantly better. The time spent on unnecessary refinements could be better used on other tasks. Missed deadlines and opportunities. When perfectionists spend too much time tweaking their work, they risk missing important deadlines. In business, missing a deadline can mean losing a client, missing a sales opportunity, or falling behind competitors who are faster at execution. Procrastination. Because perfectionists fear delivering something that isn't perfect, they often put off starting a task or submitting their work. This hesitation leads to unnecessary stress and delays. In contrast, action takers focus on getting started, iterating, and improving over time. Burnout and frustration. Constantly striving for an impossible standard can be exhausting. Perfectionists often overwork themselves, spending hours refining minor details while neglecting other important aspects of their work or personal life. Over time, this leads to frustration, self-doubt, and burnout. The mindset shift. Focus on progress, not perfection. To overcome the inefficiency of perfectionism, it's essential to shift your mindset from everything must be perfect to done is better than perfect. Here's how. Prioritize what truly matters. Not all details are equally important. Instead of obsessing over small, insignificant elements, focus on the aspects that truly impact the overall success of the task. Ask yourself, will this minor change make a meaningful difference? If not, move on. Set time limits for each task. Give yourself a realistic deadline and stick to it. If you tend to spend too much time on small details, set a strict time limit and challenge yourself to finish within that time frame. Embrace iteration. Instead of trying to create something perfect on the first attempt, adopt an iterative approach. Submit your work, gather feedback, make improvements, and repeat the process. This method not only saves time, but also allows you to learn and improve more effectively. Accept imperfection as part of growth. Understand that no one creates flawless work all the time. Mistakes and imperfections are part of the learning process. The more you create and share, the better you become. Conclusion. Perfection slows you down, action moves you forward. Perfectionism can feel like a pursuit of excellence, but in reality, it often becomes a barrier to success. Spending too much time on minor details slows progress, reduces efficiency, and leads to unnecessary stress. In contrast, focusing on action, adaptability, and progress leads to greater success and growth. In the end, the most successful people aren't the ones who never make mistakes, they are the ones who take action, learn from experience, and keep moving forward. 4. Perfectionism reduces productivity and motivation. When perfectionists set unrealistically high expectations, they often feel disappointed when they can't meet them. This leads to burnout. Spending too much time and effort on small details can be exhausting. Frustration. No matter how hard they work, perfectionists always feel like they're not good enough. Lack of motivation. When things don't go as planned, perfectionists may lose confidence in their abilities. Instead of making progress, they become stuck in a cycle of self-doubt and overthinking. Meanwhile, those who focus on consistent improvement rather than perfect execution remain motivated and productive. 5. Success requires action, not just perfection. Perfectionists often wait for the perfect moment to act. They believe they need more knowledge, better skills, or better conditions before they can start something new. But the truth is, There is no perfect moment. The right time to start is always now. Want to start a business? You don't need a perfect plan, just start and adjust along the way. Want to learn a new skill? Don't wait until you have all the free time in the world. Start learning in small steps today. Want to create content? Stop worrying about making it perfect. Publish your work and improve as you go. The most successful people didn't start with perfect conditions. They started with what they had and refined their skills over time. Taking imperfect action is far more valuable than waiting for perfection that may never come. How to overcome perfectionism and succeed. If you recognize that perfectionism is holding you back, here are some ways to overcome it and start achieving real success. Focus on progress, not perfection. Aim to improve step by step instead of seeking flawlessness. Set realistic deadlines. Give yourself a specific time limit to complete tasks to avoid endless revisions. Accept mistakes as learning experiences. View failure as a stepping stone to improvement, not as a reason to quit. Take action even when it's not perfect. Start now and make adjustments later. Practice the 80-20 rule. Focus on the most important 20% of your efforts that create 80% of your results, instead of obsessing over small, unnecessary details. Conclusion. Being too much of a perfectionist can stop you from achieving success because it leads to procrastination, fear of failure, wasted time, and decreased productivity. Instead of aiming for impossible perfection, focus on taking action, learning from mistakes, and improving over time. The world doesn't reward perfection. It rewards progress, consistency, and adaptability. Success isn't about doing everything flawlessly. It's about doing, improving, and moving forward.
Thank you for watching. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe.